Now, it's your turn.
Fear not, citizens. Hope has arrived because we are back with My Hero Academia. This is the Amateur Otaku podcast where we talk all things MHA. The anime is back, but we're talking the manga. So if you haven't been reading My Hero Academia, the manga, this is your chance to leave. We've got tons of anime coverage for you on the channel, so make sure you check that out. But guys, we have been in a crazy war. And it just keeps escalating and escalating. Our boy Izuku Midoriya, Deku, the completion of One for All, it's taking its all for one. Of course, I'm President Mike, your host. Forgot to mention that. And joining me, of course, are the founders of the Amateur Otaku, Isaac Wolf and Brandon Alvarado. Isaac, what are your thoughts on everything Deku's doing? Stealing playbooks from Luffy, going plus ultra. It's been a heck of a chapter.
Well, he's most certainly in war mode. That's to put it lightly.
Yeah. What I love about this specific chapter, right? Number 369. Nice. It's titled A Chain of Events Across the Ages. And it starts with a bang. Brandon, I want to toss it over to you right quick. When we start with this first page, right, of All for One choking out the second user, like, what's going through your head when you see all of this playing out and knowing what it eventually leads up to?
Apart from the fact that I had to kind of go like, who is this? What's going on? So All for One is crying. Let's start there. So it's emotional, right? Because I think maybe emotional because he cared about his brother up to one point, and the fact that the second user, whatever his name is, has All for One means that has One for All means that his brother's no longer around, right? You got to assume that.
Yeah.
It took me a while to kind of like, if it wasn't because I saw All for One complete, right? I would think, holy crap, what's going on? But then he kind of located me. He was the means for the anchor towards the time frame. But I love how you kind of look into this person and you say, oh, it looks like, and then you see the scar across the eyes. Mm-hmm. And you're like, this guy. So it was fascinating. But it wasn't just fascinating, the scenery. It was fascinating that this is All for One talking, right?
Yeah.
It's All for One going back. It's not a century, right? It's not 100 years. It's going back 50, 60 years into the past and analyzing that. But when I met all these people in the past, so we're kind of seeing his story up to the point that he's melding with All for Shiggy. I don't know. It was jaw-dropping because we've talked a lot about, I've tirelessly talked about, not always everybody agreeing, and I get it, and because everybody thinks differently. But one of the things that I've always talked about that I love about My Hero, about what Kohei has been doing, is the idea of Deku being the amalgamation of everyone's ideal of what a hero is or can be, right? He is the combination of all these inspiration, of all these mentorships, of all these people that have given their life for the cause for real, not for play, not for money, not for fame, right? And he is the one carrying that torch. And of course, because he's the main character, through him, you can see that then reflected in the entire Class 1A, right? Because all of them really also stand as this new generation that are carrying the torch for real, right?
Yeah.
So I love how they're presenting it's kind of like an origin of One for All, right? Like it all started like little bits and pieces, very small, but the intent for good and justice were there, and that intent allowed those little things created that snowball effect, which is now kicking all for Shiggy's ass.
Yeah, it takes me back to chapter 362, which is 2 months ago now. You guys might remember it. It's a chapter everybody remembers because it is the death of Katsuki Bakugo.
Right.
And in that chapter, we had All for One, essentially, because I don't think Shigaraki was in there at that point. We had All for One looking at the fight in Bakugo, saying that this is familiar. And we had that flashback to the second user.
Right.
Finally pay that off here, right? Because the second user, he's just as bloodied and beaten and assumed dying, just like Bakugo was. But I love on the second page, he has a smirk on his face.
Yes.
And we all know why. Because he passed that quirk on, and he's fighting with the embers left, just like All Might did when he fought All for One.
Yes.
Seasons back. And so it's like, this is a never-ending nightmare for All for One when you really think about it, because his brother's gone, and this quirk just keeps coming back to haunt him over and over again. And then we get the reveal that he sees all of these vestiges behind Izuku. Like, we thought this was just like a visual aid that we were seeing. No, he actually sees them.
Yep.
And it's so great.
Yep. It's so surreal.
I mean, the Kirk originated from him, so it shouldn't be that surprising, I suppose.
No, but it kind of but also I think it's the whole. It's kind of like a spiritual element to it, right?
Yeah.
Because the idea that you have a character like All for One, right, that he can remove and bestow quirks, kind of makes him. I don't know how much of the Sandman you've seen at this point, Mike, but kind of makes him like Morpheus, where he creates things, and then suddenly these things that he creates can get out of control.
Yeah.
Right? So he created One for All for a purpose, and it's not doing what he wants him to do. Because he is, of course, inherently evil in his intentions. He only cares about a society that he can control, that he can be on top of. Like, that's all he cares about. So he has this kind of spiritual connection with One for All, and One for All continues to elude him, only to become stronger and stronger every time to try and set him right. But also, it's like the idea that his brother was able to find like-minded people and unite them to face him. It's just powerful. And I love how you mentioned that the smirk on the second user's face. And I love the fact that they keep saying second user. Then for some reason, they just keep deciding to not tell us who he is.
It's to the point where, and Isaac, you're a theory expert. Do you want them to just say Bakugo at this point? His last name clearly has to be Bakugo. He looks like Kachan. He's dressed like Kachan.
Honestly, at this point, I don't really know what to expect. But this is going so all over the place that I wouldn't be surprised if, while, let us put it like this. While I still have my gripes in the whole him being saved like that for reasons already said, I wouldn't be surprised if it took another left turn. That operation fails to happen, and they are getting. Oh, Erin might be able to save him. She tries to do that for whatever reason, and then things go south, and he ends up back in time, and he becomes the second user.
I was wondering where that was going for so long, because I'm like, that was not the question. But you got there. I get it. I understand.
Yeah, he pulled an end game.
I mean, there's so much happening in this arc that you might as well do the Bakugo is the second user, and for some reason his grand or how long time that the user lived before they came weird grandfather scenario.
Now, it's uninteresting. I just thought about something.
Shoot.
I know I mentioned like 60 years.
For reference, I don't believe in this either, but it could, for all I know, it could happen anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but I'm glad you mentioned that because that's a theory, right? Now, the reason I don't agree and why I think this might be Bakugo's dad,
Well, ancestor, because we've met his dad.
have we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe he's an uncle. I don't know. He's related. But the reason I say this is because remember, every user died young. So it really hasn't been that long. I mean, how many years did All Might operate? Like 10, 15 years?
All Might operated for about 20. All Might is in his 50s.
Okay.
So, well, no, All Might operated way longer because he got the quirk when he was Deku's age. So this goes back back about 70 years. That's about right. So yeah,
Okay,
this is about
okay.
70. This could
Okay,
be his
so-
grandfather though, you know.
Could. But yeah, it's I don't know why we keep avoiding telling us who he is.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact that his quirk was nothing to cry home about or nothing to go home yelling about and being excited. But the fact that he could always see the potential of, and it goes back to the idea of the idea of doing the right thing. As long as you pass that down, there's always going to be someone fighting. You know,
Yeah.
we've seen it in Star Wars when it's good. We've seen it in in DC Comics, Marvel Comics. The idea that what makes someone pick up a mantle or pick up a sword to fight darkness or whatever, it's always the intent, the idea of doing the right thing. And I love that he puts that into words. Like literally the text, our meta abilities, this is in page 9. It goes, and this is the second user talking. And I like the fact that because of the spiritual connection that All for One has with One for All, not only does he see the visages, but the visages are trash talking All for One, bro. Like it's awesome. It's like he's coming back with the same smirk, right? And he goes, "Our meta abilities were never what you should have been wary of. Rather, you should fear the reason why someone chooses to use their gifts." And the funny thing is, that's also what makes All for One so terrifying, because of the reason, the intent, the heart behind the gift, the power. It's never what the quirk is or does, is what you use it for, which again, Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. It translates and adapts to different versions of the same idea, right? But I love how Horikoshi presents it in his own way and how it fits so well with this, because Izuku is the living embodiment of that. A kid that was told that he would never have anything is given to him because he had the right intent.
What I love about that too is that's the entire idea behind this series, right? True power resides within an individual's intent. And that just takes me all the way back to chapter 1, to episode 1. Deku's running at this sludge monster.
Yep.
He has no power to stop it,
Yep.
but he intends to save Bakugo. And that alone was enough to get All Might to jump in.
Yep.
And yeah, I love how Horikoshi, as messy as this arc has been, is still able to make that message ring loud and clear, which, again, to Isaac's point, it's going to make it all somewhat worth it. It was kind of crazy getting here. Edge Shot becoming a heart is still really bizarre, and I still don't know how I feel about it, but I like the end goal, right? The end message that he's trying to deliver.
Yeah.
Under 50% that Horikoshi hasn't decided if he's going to use the Bakugo as the second user theory, and because of that, he's just secret about it until the last second.
I'm going to Yeah, because the way you're phrasing the question is a bit different. I 100% believe Horikoshi knows what he wants to do.
Oh yeah.
I just don't know when he's going to reveal it. So I don't think he's questioning what he's going to do with the second user. I think he knows. He's probably wondering, like, when do I play that card? Do I do it in 5 chapters? Do I do it in 7 chapters?
Yeah.
Type of thing. That's as much as I'd give you there.
And also, it's interesting that you say that, because at least with big moments like this, which it makes me think maybe Horikoshi is a type of writer that rides backwards. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, he knows the moments he wants to create, and he just finds ways to get to that moment. Because you can tell that this chapter as a whole, he had to envision this so long ago. But also going back to the quasi death of Bakugo, and then the almost actual, the first quasi death didn't really do anything to Bakugo's character. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There wasn't. It was just a casualty of the moment, a casualty of the attack. Right? He got hurt. Right? But here, his arc flourished into something different, into something greater, or at least we would hope, right? Yeah. Those are the signs of what we're seeing. Now, can we talk about how when the original user starts talking about how One for All and everything is resonating, the young man with the bean eyes.
I love that line, but I also love the smash cut to, just in case you didn't know, this is the young man with the bean eyes.
Yes, we're talking about Lemillion, guys.
Yeah. Which, like, does it break the immersion that that's not just a stylistic choice? Like, in universe, they know he has bean eyes.
No, it's awesome. It's actually awesome. I'm actually surprised that when they showed that, they didn't show his ass. Like, they just...
Yeah, you can't give us everything. You got to make us wait for it a bit.
No comment.
So now, I don't want to diverge the conversation from that moment. So, do you guys have anything else to say about what we were discussing about the second user or anything like that?
Isaac, anything else?
Not that I can think of for exactly. There's one big thing that I'm my memory is just going apeshit over, but we can go. It's in the later of the chapter.
Okay. Well, I have one more thing regarding the second user, and that is we finally get his quirk. It's gear shift. And
One Piece.
Yeah. we learn how it works a little bit, and Deku is muttering the entire time, which I thought was awesome.
Which is funny that you say that. Oh, by the way, you say One Piece, Isaac, because of gear shift. Look at his scar. What does it remind you of?
Are you talking about Full Metal Alchemist, or am
No.
I mean, it looks like the X on Luffy's chest.
Yes.
I know that.
Isaac, yes. How can you miss that?
How can you forget? It's peak fiction, man.
No, and here's the thing, Isaac. You say One Piece. No one else. You just said One Piece when you said gear.
We did this last minute. We did a last minute. We did a last minute change in the scheduling. I was about to go to sleep when you said that.
We are on a cruise.
So excuse me if I make some little.
Love you, Isaac.
I love you too, buddy.
No, but yeah, I found that I didn't see it till Isaac said One Piece. I just find it hilarious. And I see that entirely intentional. Damn you, Horikoshi, you're a brilliant bastard. Yeah. Now, I'm glad that you mentioned Izuku muttering. Because it is so interesting how Horikoshi keeps finding ways to show that even without quirks, he always had a quirk. You know what I mean? Because it's like because it also goes back to the whole thing like with Melissa Shield.
Yeah, two
Like,
heroes.
Exactly. She doesn't have a quirk, but the brilliance that the way she creates support items is quirk. It's a quirk equivalent because of how much she is able to do for the Hero Society, right? So it's kind of like Horikoshi giving a nod to, hey guys, everybody can do something. Whatever you do your best at it, and you can be a hero in your own thing. And I love how to this point, Izuku has not stopped being that kid that was muttering while watching Mountain Lady take down that hero, that villain in the first episode. I love that. I love that he's able to bring us back to, oh crap. Everything is
the way
still
you
there.
worded it, it just sounded so wrong out of context.
Well, thankfully we're in context.
Exactly. Why you take it out of context, I don't know. Now,
I'm just like messing with you.
so I wanted to mention that because I love that. Now,
Yeah.
guys, we have to talk about the last 2 pages.
We're getting there. We're working our way there. But Deku using this quirk, this power, it makes me wonder. Because like when we first meet Banjo, the fifth user, and he's telling us about Black Whip and how Deku's the one to unlock One for All. Do you think
the key word is complete?
To complete One for All. Good, thank you.
Yeah.
So this raises a question because I always assumed like the power just had to stockpile enough, and Deku's like he's lucky number 9, and he was able to complete the quirk. But do you think Yoichi Shigaraki, the first user, just purposely hid these other users until somebody with Deku's mind and ability can take full advantage of One for All?
It could be. I also think it's interesting that you say that because I also kind of think that it also has to do to the fact that when Deku got it, the quirk got to a point that it required that for that person to continue to function. Because remember, when Black Whip is revealed, it's out of control.
Right.
And I think it's because One for All has gotten to a point that it's gotten so powerful that I think the first user didn't have any choice. I kind of see it that way. But also I get what you're saying, because it makes sense.
Yeah, because like, All Might wouldn't be able to use this quirk to its fullest ability.
Correct.
So they just gave him the physical tools he needed because the first user he reached out to Deku, but he was aware of what was happening. It wasn't like both of them were confused by what was going on. So part of me wonders if he was just biding his time, and he says, "Yeah, that's the kid. That's the kid who's going to be able to do this."
Yep. It's very possible. It's very, very possible. Which also makes me think also that All for One actually just confirmed something that I don't think was ever made clear before. Is that One for All does have within itself a strength quirk. Because he actually literally says that there's a might within One for All that has been growing throughout the ages. I think it's in page, let me see, I'll find the page. I promise.
The page 4, right? Right before Deku's Detroit Smash.
Oh no, Detroit Smash quintuple. Please. like the fact that there's an idea of strength, physical strength, which explains All Might.
Right.
Because remember, if All Might doesn't have access to all the other users, and when you think about it, all the other users had One for All, but they never had additional quirks. They only had theirs. Maybe their original quirks were enhanced to a degree, but they didn't have One for All long enough to be able to get that boost.
Yeah.
But as it went from user to user, One for All also carried a might with a strength quirk within it. So it makes me think, is the strength quirk Shigaraki's original quirk?
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
So we know the quirk was to pass on quirks, and then one was the stockpile. So yeah, the stockpile might have been base. It might have had like a super strength element to it, and then it stockpiled from there.
So go back to that. I got a little lost there.
So they told us originally we thought that the first user was quirkless, but we learned he had the quirk to pass on quirks, and All for One gave him the quirk to stockpile power. So I'm saying with it, like within the stockpile power, there might have already been like enhanced strength to that quirk.
Okay, and that's the quirk that he never gave out.
Right.
So the question is, so All for All only had the ability to pass down quirks, but he couldn't take away.
Right. And he had the ability to stockpile quirks, which is why the power builds as he passes it down.
So in other words, All for One used them as a locker room.
Essentially.
What a dick.
Yeah, that's the entire thing. Like
that's why we find him in a locked room.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know. It finally clicked for me. I'm sorry.
No, that's why it's good talking it out, because they never explained why he was there. And you saying he's using him basically as a garage, essentially.
Right. Which
makes sense now, right? Like he gives it to him, he holds it, and then he comes and gets it back.
And he gets it back more powerful, but it also makes sense why All for One had to outsource that quirk garage to the doctor.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have his brother anymore to do it. So, damn, Horikoshi, you brilliant bastard. But no, okay, I like this. This is good shit. But yeah, it's like I like the idea that now because that's one of the things that I always wonder. Like, if All Might was quirkless, where did the strength come from? Because it doesn't make sense. Because none of the other users had strength. So it looks like something.
A sense of justice made him powerful.
100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups.
Oh, you're pulling a One Punch Man?
One punch.
One punch. But yeah.
Yeah,
Damn.
but like it makes sense because when you think about it, Gear Shift, Fa Jin, all of these enhancing quirks within One for All.
Yeah.
If Yoichi Shigaraki, the first user, was able to control who got what power based on what he felt they can handle, he could have just unlocked Fa Jin and said that's why All Might's super strong, because he's using that enhanced strength multiplier.
Right.
That's a theory, but that's just something to think about.
But at the same time, the only way that Deku was able to access other quirks is because he's in direct contact with the other users in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But there was 7 other users that justifies that strength quirk growing. There was a stockpile to the point that, and not only that, it makes me think maybe All Might had kind of like a Venom effect. Do you remember the 1999 Spider-Man show? Whenever they introduced Venom with Eddie Brock, that they show him in a gym, and he's lifting weights, and every time he lifts the weight, his muscle grows. You know what I mean? Like, and then when you see Venom, he's like freaking ripped.
Yeah,
like
Venom is a beast in that series.
Yeah, but I wonder if that's kind of what happened, because a mixture of, because correct me if I'm wrong, but All Might looks buffer, older than he does when he's younger.
Yeah,
he does. So it makes me think that guy.
He can also change sizes, which is never explained. That is not a quirk at One for All. He is quirkless. It made no sense. So I don't know. All Might is an enigma to me sometimes.
It's the embers, man. It's the embers, man.
But he can still puff up once in a while if he chooses to. We've seen him do it without the embers.
Hey, it's a lot of air. Now, can we talk about how, apart from the fact, so officially, like with this Detroit Smash, because I think we talked about this on the last chapter, right?
Yeah. With
this Detroit Smash, it is confirmed that Deku has passed All Might by a landslide. So can we make that clear? But yeah. I like the idea that Deku is so smart. I miss this side of Deku. I kind of got tired of reading all the descriptions because we kind of now for the first time we have to read the muttering. We've never had to read the muttering. But I love how he uses it in a way to literally create renewable energy within himself. That is freaking brilliant.
He's not running out of energy, of power. He's not breaking his arms because he's still wrapping himself up with black whip. He still has everything that Hatsume gave him. It's great. Isaac, what did you think of Deku's Detroit Smash quintuple, reminiscent of the almighty push from Pain himself?
Well, I feel
mighty.
Well, like we have said previously in other episodes, I feel sorry for the animation team over at Bones for the later seasons.
Yeah.
This chapter in particular,
they can take it. You saw what they did with Mirko. They can take it.
I mean, they did the thighs, man.
Recoil. Still.
Yeah, I mean, they had a tie schedule, perhaps.
Wow.
Well done.
Now, can we talk about how we need? Am I the only one that needs a poster of Deku advancing with all the vestiges behind him? Because that panel right there, bro.
If you just search My Hero Academia on the Twitter, you will find so many fans have colored that page in and turned it into posters already. You could probably make it a wallpaper from somebody.
It's so good.
It's so clean.
Yeah.
It's so great. But you wanted to get towards the end here, Brandon. We have Deku do this.
Last thing. Sorry. Can we all agree that Deku has become the Captain Planet we need, not the one we deserve right now?
Yeah, I mean, he's got everything going for him. He's being Captain Planet. He's being Izuku as always. He's channeling his inner Luffy. His hair is going Super Saiyan like Son Goku.
Yep.
He just did the almighty push. We're Rasengan away from completing everything. But he just needs to yell Bankai and be done.
Yes. Go, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, I was just moving on throughout this fight because Deku is going ham. But did you see the crater? We're on page 12. We see the crater in Alpha Shiki's chest. And I love how MHA Twitter was just like, payback's a bitch. you took Bakugo's heart. Deku put a crater in your chest. And I'm like, oh yeah. Horikoshi totally did that on purpose, didn't he?
Yep.
Like, oof.
It's like,
I don't know how you survived that.
And here comes my question. Does he have a quote-unquote regeneration quirk?
He creates arms and legs and fingers.
I mean, that's
he's
what
had
I mean.
regeneration since the first war.
I mean, I'm talking regeneration a la Airy power.
Yeah, we saw him use Ares' power.
Yeah, we saw him.
We saw OG over it. Yeah, I gotta agree with Isaac.
No, but I'm saying I feel like he would have made sure that was in the main body, which is now the Shigaraki body, right?
Right.
Yeah, true.
Well, remember the rapid regeneration that he has. We saw it on the Stars and Stripes battle.
Yeah.
But we also see it here, which is the reason he can create all these arms and legs and fingers. That's part of that regeneration. That is not a quirk. It's a body ability. Why it's different, I have no clue.
It's so Deku doesn't kill him while Eraserhead is staring at him.
Right.
And I'm scared, by the way, because once he called out Aizawa and his brats, I'm like, oh God, don't go up there.
Yep. No, and not only that, the fact that he's kind of like losing it right now, and I see all these stars. I kind of have a feeling that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means he has 9 quirks. Mm-hmm. Hello, Heroes Rising. He has 9 quirks probably inside of him.
Yep.
Because if you remember, this might be stupid, but whenever we see the panels of One for All traveling, what are they traveling on? Different star-like symbols.
Yep.
So I wonder if that's just relegating how many users, how many quirks, right? So I wonder if that's telling us how many quirks. Because again, you got to think about it. There's no way the battle ends here because we haven't seen. Because all for Shiggy has been held down, no matter how strong he is now. He has been held down. Like, there's no way this fight ends without him being 100% powerful. There's no way. I have a feeling that either, I know what you mean. I'm scared too, by the way. Either something happens to Aizawa, or something happens to Monoma, is his name?
Yeah.
Or he finds a way to become impervious to Aizawa's quirk. Which to me, him becoming impervious to Aizawa's quirk, if it's explained well, I would kind of like it to be that because it kind of elevates him to like the all-be-all villain. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Where not even a quirk off and off button can stop him, and then Deku has to be the one. Now, are we still under the 5-minute counter that the second user was talking about, even though he's renewing energy?
Yeah, so they never told us what that meant. And I feel like the 5-minute timer was probably just how far Deku can push gear shift.
Okay.
And
before it stalls.
Pretty much. Exactly. So I feel like that the user was mainly sick because Horikoshi has faults sometimes. Like he said he had Deku say he was doing 1,000,000% smash and then had to retract that statement.
Yes.
So having this 5-minute timer might not necessarily mean the world will end, but it might mean you're going to be significantly depowered. We need to finish this now, type of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting your interpretation of this panel with these stars, right? Because I looked at it a totally different way. Because we see these 9 stars, and then we have him say, "Not yet. Victory is still within my grasp." And we cut to like a roided out spinner. Like, I don't know what happened to our guy here, but I interpreted that panel as he gave every significant lieutenant of the Liberation a secondary quirk, and then those battlefields are about to get wrecked, essentially. That's how I interpreted that.
Yeah, so like he's giving an order,
right?
Because they're all linked to All for Shiggy in one way, shape, or form.
Right. It's his order 66. So we're cutting to Spinner. Damn. We might cut to Toga. We might cut back to Dabi. That's how I saw it. But him unlocking another gear in his power set is also a possibility.
But yeah, agreed. I'm scared. and not only am I scared, but I'm also scared about the fact that does it mean we're moving away from the fight?
I think you don't cut to Spinner and then not show us what's happening with Spinner.
Yeah, I agree.
But the question is, and you guys can help me if you remember, what battlefield is Spinner on? Because that is not.
I know. I don't remember.
It has been almost a year, right?
It's been months at least, and so Spinner,
let me see if I can figure this out.
Like, is Spinner in the Shoto fight? Is he in the Toga fight? Is he in the Endeavor fight? Like, I don't know where Spinner
is. He fighting at all?
Is he with Kirishima? I don't know where Kirishima is. I don't know. So that's the thing that's weird. Like, if we cut to Toga or Dabi, I would have been frustrated if we cut back to Dabi for like a billionth time, but I would at least understand it. I don't know where Spinner is.
Yep.
But Isaac, did you have any thoughts on like the end of this chapter?
It's just that are we going to get Godzilla lookalike helping out in this afterwards? All the things considered.
Hey, he's not Godzilla. He's closer to a Michael Bay Ninja Turtle.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, with all the pop culture inspiration and all that, yes. Wouldn't you say it's a bit? It wouldn't be so shocking if he becomes kaiju size.
Well, then that's where we get the giant hero, Godzilla. We met him in 2 Heroes.
Yeah.
He exists. He's
know.
And we get a kaiju battle.
That's what I mean. I couldn't recall his name yet. Or how big can Mount Lady become again?
She can become massive. Like 3 stories, I think they said.
It's like She-Hulk. It still works though. Um, sorry. So guys, we started the war in February 13th in chapter 343. It has been officially in 2 days. It's going to be that this war has been going on for 8 months. So no, we don't remember where Spinner is.
Yeah, you know what? I'm taking a look here to see if anybody remembers where the last time we saw Spinner. I know we had the conversation with him and All for Shiggy, and he was like very concerned about Shigaraki losing control of that body. So
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to turn on All for One and
For
end
sure.
up betraying him to save his man Shigaraki.
I'm gonna save you, my boy.
Yeah.
Now Isaac was mentioning something interesting. So
Yeah.
in a report, which I think we have to cover it now because it's so Horikoshi is reconsidering again when to finish the book, which to me it's like, buddy, I mean, what are we doing?
So yeah, for those who don't know or who don't get the physical copies of Weekly Shonen Jump, Horikoshi has a comment every single week. All of the authors have comments that they put in Shonen Jump every single week. They're usually spoiler free because they're at the front of the book, so they can't talk about the chapters themselves.
Right.
But in his most recent comment, he said, and I'm pulling up the quote here so I don't misquote what he had to say, because I feel like phrasing is very important. But essentially he says, a year ago...
Are you able to put it on the page?
Yeah, I can. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
So you guys can keep talking while I pull that up.
Yeah. Because to me, of course, every writer can do whatever the hell they want as long as the story makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we've heard a lot that Heroes Rising was like the draft for the original ending, but we're not getting that, but we still got it, right? This war has been amazing. I would say it's been 80% amazing, right? Because it's been kind of dreadful, all those months without Deku, but it's paying off in grand style. But I do have to. I wonder, how is it? Because right now, where we at with the manga in chapter 369, we know for a fact that we still have possibly another 40 chapters before this fight ends. Because we know for a fact that we still have to see All for Shiggy go full blown final form Frieza. You know what I mean? Like that hasn't happened. It's going to happen, right? And there's going to be an ultimate battle. I know we're at that. We're turning a corner into what the final battlefield is going to be. I don't think the final battlefield is as far off as it was back in the original war arc. Does that make sense? Because all this feels has a weight of finality with everything. So when he says he's reconsidering whether or not to end it, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me for it to be regarding the series, because you can finish this arc and then continue the series in a different fashion. But there's no way that you finish this arc and don't finish the series. Does that make sense? Like, you can keep playing around the world, but there's no way you finish this arc and don't finish the series. It's kind of like the whole Fourth Great Ninja War angle. You know what I mean? Like, you don't take down Madara and say, "Oh, the next season of Naruto starts in a month." Like, you can't. Like, there's
that's and you know, as much as people rag on Boruto, that's Boruto's biggest issue, right? Is that how do you follow that up?
Right.
And they follow it up by, we're in an era of peace, because Naruto and Sasuke did what they said they were going to do, right. And now they have to try and reset the world. And for some people, I don't think they were patient enough to try and see that come to fruition, because you basically have to try and reboot within a franchise people have already known for 2 decades.
And it's not even a reboot; it's an expansion that's meant to live on its own. But the characters that come before it are so big, it makes that expansion harder to. It doesn't allow that expansion ability to breathe, right? Yeah. But go ahead with the quote.
Yeah, so we've got Horikoshi's quote up on the screen here for you guys. This is coming from Rikasu on Twitter, Rikasu MHA, known, renowned leaker of the manga if you want to get details early. But Horikoshi says, quote, "At the end of last year, I said the series would be over in 1 year, but it's already been 10 months. I'm reconsidering it." So I take this comment to say he needs more time. Not necessarily he's going to extend the series, or he's gonna be like, yeah, this was gonna be the end, but I want to keep going. I feel more like he thought he was going to be done, but he's only got 2 months left in the year, and he's not going to likely hit that deadline. Because that means he only has, at most, 7 chapters? And they're going to take breaks for Christmas and all these other things. So he really only has 4 chapters left this year.
No, I'm glad that you put the quote in. I'm glad that we decided to do that, because that I see exactly what you're saying. He's just saying that he thought he would be farther along, but like the best writers, they want to do right by the story, not the fans. I'm looking at you, Attack on Titan fans. They're trying to do what's best for the story. Oh, by the way, I love the ending of Attack on Titan. Bite me.
It's something. We'll get there when we get to the anime.
Yes. But like he's trying to do what's best for the story, and whether we like the decisions he made, we gotta admit this story has been told with a good fair breath. Does that make sense? None of it feels rushed. He's doing what he wants to do with the characters, and as of right now, we're all riding on clouds, so we can't really complain.
Yeah, because I see it as My Hero's probably going to end around chapter 400. And Horikoshi, because remember, he took some extra breaks this year. Some of the chapters were shorter than they usually were. So I feel like he may have just felt behind schedule. So we probably see the end of MHA around June of next year, which would put us around chapter 400, like 399 or so. Remember, Naruto ended at 600 chapters. So that's about right. Where I think 400
annoyed me if it was 399 and not 400. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, maybe Horikoshi will do it just for you, Isaac, where ends at 399, but we get a nice little epilogue, and the chapter is just like the story of the greatest hero.
And he titles it 399 9 3/4. Like he knows he knows you're out there. Now, one last thing, and we're gonna, and before we head out, do you guys find it interesting? This is more of an anime thing. I'll mention again on the anime coverage, but I want to bring it to you guys. Have you guys noticed that the narrator of My Hero is an adult Deku?
Yeah, ever since episode 1.
No, but for some reason, for me, it has become more apparent as we see the book and the manga progress. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Which
that's one thing that always kind of annoyed me about the anime, where it's like I kind of wish the voice actors put on a slightly older voice, because Deku's saying this is how I became the world's greatest hero, and he sounds like 16-year-old Izuku. It's kind of weird.
But it's just because it's in essence still meant for teenagers and all that. Yes.
Yeah. But I like the distance that it creates, which means that, I mean, this is taking place way in the past, and especially like the first couple of episodes of this newest season, that there's a lot more narration, and I hear the depth in Izuku's voice is like, oh crap. Is it? You know what I mean? And it just drew my attention. That's all.
Yeah. That's something that I always was kind of mindful of as we go forward. One thing, and this is stuff that we can't really say in the anime episodes because we want to keep them manga spoiler free for that audience. I love how President Mike is no longer the one talking about the quirks, right? Like he didn't announce quirks in those episodes.
Oh yeah.
Because he's busy going after the doctor and participating in the war. And it's just like, it's a funny detail. It's like President Mike is currently busy. He can't announce every single quirk. I just thought that was a fun excuse on having him not there. And also, my goodness, I can't wait to see Bones animate a lot of this stuff from these recent chapters.
Did you
guys notice? Because we're talking a little bit about the anime. In this chapter, you notice Mirako in the background, and she's still standing. That is insane. Like Amajiki looks like he is dead. Sun Eater looks like he is dead.
Yeah.
But Mirako is still standing up.
I mean, this is Mirako we are talking about.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I love Mirako so much. She is one of my favorite. Mirako and Hawks, two of my favorite characters in this entire series. I'm gonna love season 6 so much, but I'm afraid of Hawks, flying too close to the sun this week. But we'll cover that when we cover the anime.
The price of freedom.
It's high, man. Isaac, you got anything else on this chapter, or anything on Horikoshi's comments about extending the series?
No, not more than I would honestly. Then going back to my other comment, and I would honestly laugh because he is going. They would go so insane that he is Bakugo after all. The whole Bakugo is second user. The theory anyway. I don't believe it, but it would be funny.
I don't. So I'm fine with it being an ancestor of Bakugo. Again, I don't know why you hide it this long if it's not something relevant to the plot. But I doubt it's Bakugo, because once he starts talking, I feel like Izuku would recognize his best friend's voice. Like, even though he's older, he would still sound like Bakugo. Especially to somebody who's close to Bakugo.
I agree. I'm just saying that it would be funny just to see the reactions.
Yeah, you also are a fan of the dad for one thing, just for memes, so I don't trust you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would still laugh my ass off if that's what was true.
Now that you mentioned that, I'm going to ask a question. Is this the first time that we see the second user directly talking to Izuku? Or he maybe talked to me one other time, right? This is like the first time that we see him engaging in actual active conversation, right?
We saw him in the vestige space talk to the other users. He was talking to the third and the fourth about what to tell, like what information to divulge to Deku. We're gonna see that in the upcoming season in a bit. But as far as direct contact with Izuku, he might have talked to him one other time.
Like the last chapter, it started the last chapter, of course, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like he may have, because he's never used the quirk until now. So he's probably warned him about, like, hey, this is the last one you're going to be able to take because it's a doozy type of deal.
Yep.
But that's as much as I can think of.
Yeah.
Brandon, anything else, man?
No, I think we're good. Let's sign off, man.
Let's call it an episode. This has been My Hero Academia 369, a chain of events across the ages. That's a heck of a title. Love it. This has been a fun chapter, guys, a fun conversation. And Horikoshi, if you're somehow listening to this English podcast about your manga, keep writing it, man. We'll be rooting for you. We don't care how long it takes. We want to get the best conclusion possible.
Yes.
Because we love My Hero Academia over here. We talk about it every single week in some form or fashion, whether that's the manga that you guys have experienced if you're an hour into this conversation, and the anime. We just did episode 2 about Midako, number 5, the Thigh Hero. It has been a blast going through season 6, going through the end of the series. Isaac, my man, yes, Mirako, the Thigh Hero. Where can people find you, bro?
Well, I also want to say, Horikoshi, if you, for whatever reason, listening to this, the more chapters, the more content we get to the channel. So keep on going.
1 million chapters, 100 episodes.
1 million chapters.
My Hero Academia to the end of time, Morty.
Can we, Horikoshi, can we get a spinoff on the Bean-Eyed Boy? I want to see what his daily life looks like.
Yeah, but you can find my writing at Webom Entertainment, and you can find me over at Emblemaniac on Twitter. And yeah, that's about it.
What if he doesn't have bean-eyed eyes? What if his eyes are his actual white portion of the eye is actually in constant phase?
They are instead They are instead blue mixed with red and orange.
It's time for Isaac to go to bed. And
And
Brandon, to answer your question, Lemillion's eyes look the same when he got his quirk taken away, so doubtful.
Damn it! You can find me at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Twitter, and Mike.
Yeah, you can find the podcast at Amateur Otaku Pod on Twitter. We have a poll going up right now. Let us know what's the most influential anime franchise. Some people think it's One Piece. Some people think it's Dragon Ball. Our poor Fox boy Naruto is hardly getting any votes. Let us know on Twitter. It's a poll. The results are hilarious. And Isaac, your entire career depends on what happens. You need the Straw Hat Gang to come through, man. You really need to get them to come through.
I said most popular shows in your guys have did that to pull, but whatever.
Well, all right. Well, you guys can also find me at Novice Cinephile on Twitter, on YouTube at youtube.com/Novice Cinephile. You can also find the chatter after. If you want to see the three of us talk all things movies, whether we love them, hate them, feeling different, all that is over there for the chatter after. We just did Train to Busan. We're doing Constantine. We've got a special one coming up for Halloween as well, so stay tuned for that. With that said, we will catch you in 2 weeks because My Hero is on break yet again for chapter 370. And we're going to meet back up with Deku just demolishing all for Shiggy. Are we going to cut to Spinner wherever the heck he is? Or are we finally going to see what Uraraka and Toga have been doing for the past 4 months? Tune in next time on the Amateur Otaku Podcast. Have it awesome, guys. Take care. Peace.
Go beyond.
Plus Ultra.
Something.